everybody, today I wanted to show you guys how I make my Katahar curry. So what Katahar is it's the family of the jackfruit. People commonly think that it's a jackfruit, but it's not. It's actually just a relative of it. It doesn't really have a distinct taste of its own, that's why we curry it to get all the flavors inside of the vegetable. So this Katahar right here, I'm going to curry it today, and it's very good with shrimp inside, chicken, beef, but today I'm going to keep it vegetarian. This is usually only made for special occasions such as Hindu weddings or prayer services, and people usually get together weeks in advance to start cleaning this because it's a long process from start to finish. So before I get into all of the ingredients to make my Katahar curry, what I want to do is show you guys how to clean this. Now, many people find the cleaning part of this very daunting. That's why they usually buy the frozen version that's already cleaned for you. But today I bought the fresh one, and I was lucky enough to get some really good ones while I was in New York. And I'm going to show you guys how to clean it just in case you can't find the frozen one. So what I want to do first is you want to take one of them and you want to cut them in half. It's a little hard to get through, but once you get through it, it's easy to start cleaning it. So when you cut it in half, you're going to see that there's some seeds inside, and then you're going to see the meat around here. So what I want to do now is cut it in fours. And I'm just going to cut it down the middle again. You want small, manageable pieces when you're cleaning this. So now what you want to do is you want to get a smaller knife, like a paring knife, and you want to start peeling it. And you want to be very careful because the skin is pretty rough and it's hard to get through sometimes. So just take your time and go through with your knife. I'm going to show you guys a few tips and tricks on how to clean this. So this way, if you ever have to clean it or you feel like eating Katahar, you'll be able to do it very easily at home. Now, when you're peeling it, you want to get through all of that tough green skin, so you want to cut pretty deeply. And what you're going to see when you cut it, when you start peeling it actually, you're going to start seeing all of these little holes inside. And that's how the meat looks on the inside. So I'm just going to clean one piece and show you guys. So now what you want to do is you want to cut out the core. This way you can start getting the seeds out much easier. So you want to start taking out your seeds. And what I recommend is that you guys get 2 bowls, so this way you can separate the seeds from the meat, because we're going to have to do 2 separate things to those parts of the Katahar. So I have 2 bowls with me right here, and I'm going to start putting the seeds in one, and I'm going to show you guys how we extract the meat from the Katahar. So I'm just going to continue taking these seeds out. When you get to the meat, this is what you want to do. You're going to see it's very stringy. All you have to do is start tearing it apart into nice little shreds. This meat, when it cooks, it'll start to melt a little. They come very easily off the seed, so what you want to do is you want to just shred the meat into your bowl. If you see, they come in like layers, and you want to just keep shredding them all. And if you do not do this part, then the meat will not melt when you're cooking the curry. And you're going to have big chunks of Katahar, and that's not what you want. And it tends to be very fibrous, so you want them to be able to cook out evenly. So I'm just going to keep shredding, and I'm going to show you guys what this looks like when I'm done extracting all of the seeds and the meat. I finished cleaning my Katahar for the most part. what I did was I took all of the seeds out and put them in one bowl, and then I stripped all of the meat and I put it into another bowl. You want nice fine shreds that are very, very thin. So this step that I'm about to show you guys, a lot of people do not do. What people will do is they'll just start peeling the seeds as is. But what I found out, and what my grandmother told me, is that you should take the seeds and boil it in some water first and let them cool down, and then when you peel them, it's much easier to peel. Sometimes the seeds tend to pop out of this shell even after you're done boiling it. So I have a few cups of water that I've been boiling in a heavy bottom pot, and I'm going to take all of my seeds and I'm just going to dump them in here. I'm not putting anything into my water. I'm not putting any salt, no seasoning, nothing. I want these to boil here on about a medium heat for about 20 minutes. And I'm going to, after 20 minutes, I'm going to drain them, and then I'm going to show you guys how to peel them. So what I've done here is I took my Katahar seeds and I boiled them for about 20 minutes, and then I drained them and let them cool for a little until I could handle them, so this way I could peel them. Then what I did with the meat while that was boiling was I went ahead and I washed it, and then I drained it out. And you want to wash it very thoroughly to get any pieces of skin that might have gotten in there or any other impurities that might have gotten in there while you were cleaning your Katahar. So once that is washed, you're going to leave this to the side, and we're going to start to peel the seeds of the Katahar. So basically what you want to do is get one of the seeds, and you want to get a small paring knife, and you want to just start peeling around the seed. Now, another reason why I boiled them was because when people don't boil it and they start to peel the Katahar seeds, it tends to get very sticky on your hand, and it leaves a residue on your hand, and even when you wash it off, the residue stays on your hand for a little while. That's why a lot of people rub oil on their hands or use gloves while they're peeling it. But by boiling it, you sort of kill two birds with one stone, in that you don't get the stickiness or the sliminess. And then when you're cooking your Katahar, it'll cook a little faster because the seeds are a little softer than they were before. So I just peeled one, and you're going to see they break in half pretty easily. What you want to do when you're cleaning the seeds of them, you want to make sure you cut it in half. This is so that they're not too big and they boil easily when you're cooking your curry. So before we start cooking this Katahar curry, I just want to go over all of the ingredients. I'm going to leave all of the measurements in the description box below. So I have my Katahar that's been cleaned and washed over here. I have some coconut milk. I have some curry powder, some masala, and some ground jeera. I have some blended up garlic and hot pepper that I've blended up with a little bit of water. This is so I can make my curry paste with. I have some scallions. I have some onion that I've sliced. I have some vegetable oil. I have some salt to taste, and I have extra water for the cooking process. So in a very heavy bottom skillet, what I want to do is I want to put it on a high heat. Now I'm going to start making my curry paste. So what I want to do is I want to add in all of my spices into the garlic mixture. You just want to carefully mix that up. It's a little bit of a small bowl, but that's okay. And meanwhile, I'm going to add in my oil into my pan. I'm going to add in my onions so they can start frying. And you want to give that nice sizzle when you put in your ingredients into your pot. Now when you're cooking Katahar curry, you want to make sure that you do not make the curry too dark. That's why I used less garam masala than I did curry powder. Because this curry, since it has coconut milk, you want it to be nice and light and rich with the coconut milk flavor, rather than being overpowered by the masala. So my curry mixture is done, and my onions, they're starting to get a little brown. And just mix that around. And then you want to add in all of your curry mixture. This is the part where we call chunking the curry, and that's basically just frying up the curry in the hot oil to let those spices bloom and for the flavors to come out. At this point, I also want to add in my scallions. And you just want to give this a nice stir. Let all the spices and the onion get coated in the oil. And you want to fry this on a medium heat for about 4 to 5 minutes. You want all of that raw curry to cook out. If it doesn't cook out, then your finished product will taste raw and it'll be a little gritty from all the curry. You want the spices to fully cook. And you're also going to see at the bottom that it starts to stick a little. You want to keep scraping it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of my water just to get it off the bottom of the pot. You want to stir it up. And now you want to let this fry for about 5 minutes until all that water evaporates and the mixture turns very thick. Once that occurs, I will show you what we do next. So I have my curry mixture here. It's been frying in my oil for about 5 minutes. And you can see it's gotten nice and thick and it's very aromatic at this point. So what I want to do now is I want to add in the seeds of the Katahar, and of course they've been peeled and they've been washed. I'm going to add those in. I want to let those fry up for just a few seconds. The seeds tend to take longer than the actual meat of the Katahar, being that the meat is so thin and the seeds are pretty thick. The good thing is that prior to this I did boil the seeds to get the skin off, and that really helped. So I've stirred this around for a few seconds. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in all of my Katahar meat. And you want to make sure that you rinse this out very thoroughly after you've stripped it and separated the pieces of the meat. Making Katahar is definitely a labor of love because it takes so long from start to finish. The cleaning alone takes about an hour or two. And the cooking process takes a while also, since it needs to boil. So I'm just mixing this into my spices, and I'm going to let it fry in my spices for just a minute. At this point I also want to add in all of my salt. And I'm adding salt to taste, so I'm just adding a little now and then I'll see if it needs any later. And as I said before, this can be eaten with other kinds of meat, such as shrimp, chicken, or beef. But today I'm going to show you guys a very traditional way of making this, so I'm just keeping it vegetarian. I just want to raise my heat a little. I had it on a medium heat, I'm raising it to a high heat, just so this can fry in my oil and in my spice mixture very nicely. And with these types of things, you want to keep stirring, because if the curry catches or sticks to the bottom and starts to burn, then your finished product will be very bitter. I remember one time I made this and I didn't really watch it throughout the cooking process, and I let it boil for however long it needed to cook. And when it was done, I realized that it started to catch at the bottom and it was burning. And when we ate it, it had a little bit of a burnt taste to it. So you just want to try to avoid that, so you can have a nice smooth Katahar curry. So I've let it fry up in here for about a minute or two. Now what I want to do is I want to add in my coconut milk. Let me get it all out of there. Now Katahar curry needs to have coconut milk. You cannot make it without the coconut milk, because this is just how it needs to be made. The coconut milk gives it that flavor that Katahar is known for. So I added my coconut milk, gave that a mix, and now I want to add in my water. I'm adding enough water, not to cover it, just enough. The same amount of Katahar that's in the pan, I'm adding enough water for. Of course, I'll leave the measurements down below for how much I'm using. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to let it sit here and let it boil, covered on a low heat for about 25 to 30 minutes. At that point, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to check with you guys so I could show you guys if it's done or not. So I wanted to show you guys how my Katahar looks after I've been boiling it for about 30 minutes here. You're going to see that the meat is starting to break apart and get nice and soft. And if you take one of the seeds and you mash it against the side of the pan, you're going to see that it mushes, but you have to put in just a little work to mush it. That means it needs a little while longer. I also want to let you guys know that I added in some water because the water was drying up a little too fast. I'm going to account for all of this water in the measurements below. And I also tasted it to make sure it had enough salt, and I added in a little more salt. So the taste is perfect. I'm just waiting for the seeds to finish boiling and for this water to evaporate. Katahar curry is not supposed to be very wet and it's not supposed to be very dry. It's supposed to be in the middle. So I'm going to cook this for about 20 more minutes and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's done. Here we have it, everyone. I've had my Katahar curry boiling here for about an hour and 30 minutes in total. And I kept it here boiling for that long because the seeds were a little hard, but now when I mash them against the side of the pan, they're nice and soft. So depending on how hard the seeds of the Katahar were, that's how long you need to cook it for. So I'm just going to serve this up and show you guys what it looks like. Alright guys, so here I have my finished Katahar curry and it's ready to serve. It's ready to be eaten with some roti, or you could eat it with rice. This is also part of the sub-in curry that you usually get at prayer services or wedding houses. And I've cooked it for about an hour and a half. And that's just because the seeds needed that long to boil. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to comment down below on what you would like me to make next. Thanks for watching, guys.